Welcome to the Refined Strength podcast. I am joined by my lovely friend, Chelsea Rodgers, IFBB Women's Physique Pro. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I'm super excited to have you on. So I've known Chelsea since, I don't even know when I first met you because we just see each other at so many shows. But Chelsea's in Idaho and she's a coach. She is an IFBB Pro. You're a mom and yeah, you're just an all-around badass. So I'm excited to have you on for this topic, which I feel like is a juicy topic for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a little. There's a lot to it. Like I feel like some people might be a little. How do I say this nicely? A little, maybe not a little offended, but a little like put off, like not wanting to talk about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many layers so that we're talking about kind of the evolution of bodybuilding as it relates to PEDs, but not just PEDs in general, also the evolution of our thoughts and opinions around PEDs and like how the industry and the divisions, especially women's divisions, I think, have evolved over the last few years. Because it's something that a lot of people talk about. A lot of people get kind of bitter about. A lot of people quit bodybuilding because of how bodybuilding is evolving. So where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, the reason I really wanted to talk about this is I actually had a conversation with another women's physique pro, and we both moved up from figure because like you just get denser and you get bigger. It is what it is.
Whoops.
And the judges were like, hey, you'd fit better in women's physique, so you move up. But I was talking to her the other day and she was like, I'm going to do one more year in women's physique and go back down to figure. And I was like, why? She said, I can't keep up and I don't want to lose my hair and I don't want to have a bigger thing than my husband. And so I said, I don't blame you. Like it is evolving. And like, I mean, I'm to the point now where I'm like, okay, the next time I go on stage, I'm just going to go and have fun because I can't keep up with those women either. I mean, it's one of those things where how far are you willing to go? Like somebody said to me when I was wanting to go pro, they said, are you willing to do whatever it takes to go pro? And
Who asked you that?
it was a coach.
Was it your
I hang
coach
out,
or
well,
just any coach
it
that
was
you were friends
it
with?
was a coach that was like at a show.
Yeah,
I think he was trying to like prime me to pull me over to his side, which was
right.
fine, but
That's
it
why I
wasn't my
asked.
coach. But yeah,
Because
it was
that's
a
a big
different
part
coach.
of how I think pressure happens with competing is that people get asked those questions by people that aren't necessarily in their circle or they're like part of their trust circle. And I think that's
Yeah,
a big important part of competing and evolving as a bodybuilder is that you have to keep your circle small and be really adamant about keeping that circle with people that align with your values and your priorities and you trust in terms of you trust them and their opinions, and if they're your coach you trust their protocols and their decision making and their education experience, all of that, but you also trust how they're evolving because no matter what, when you hire a coach, if you're staying with them for a long period of time, you're also knowing that they're going to evolve as a coach. And so some coaches
yeah,
evolve in a great direction and they learn a lot and they get better and better. And then some don't evolve at all and they always just do the same thing. And sometimes that same thing can come from just doing the same thing that's worked for them or worked for X athlete. And that might not work for every athlete. So
yeah.
that's a big piece of having a good coach and having a good path when it comes to if you're going to go into just PED usage in general.
Right. Well, and it's not the same for everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can have one guy come to you and his androgen receptors are shit, and then you have to fix those before you can even give him a protocol. Or, you have somebody who comes to you who's like great and they just need a smidge. They don't need a lot. And a
Yeah.
lot of times when like you talk to a guy and you're like, hey, you're gonna do this amount or small amount or whatever, like this is what I recommend. And they're like, that's not very much. And I'm like, yes, smaller is better. Like
Wouldn't
it's
you want
performance
to use
enhancing.
less?
Yeah,
That's what I always
yeah,
wonder. Like when people are like, oh, that's not enough. Like, wouldn't you want to use less so that you can
yeah,
be healthier, but also just make better progress
yeah. I
without
don't I
having
don't
to
understand.
use as much gear?
Yeah, like why do you want more? That sounds painful.
I
And
think
it's
people
just I
want
mean it's
more
just and
because
it's
they
like one size
assume.
doesn't fit all, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They
Yeah.
assume that whatever they saw that Nick Walker is using or like some big Olympian that's like way different from them in literally every way, they think that, well, this person is using this or this person said this about this drug. And so that's why I want to do it this way. It's like, well, you're not even close to the level of that person. You don't have the genetics, you don't have the history, you don't have the success yet. So you have to walk before you can run.
Yeah. Well, and the hard thing is too is it is becoming more of like a subject where people can talk about it, which is good, but it also has the negative side effects too, because the younger generations are hearing about it and
Mm-hmm.
they're uneducated in it, right? And they're like, and I have a lot of young men, not mostly women, but men come to me and they're like, I want to do this. And I'm like, whoa, like you're young, you haven't had children, like let's go the natural route. You're still like, let's get your blood work done, make sure your testosterone is normal, and then like let's use it. Why are you trying to like kill yourself at this point, you know? And I think that's the hard part is it's coming out more and people are talking about it more, which is fine. It's just the younger generations are kind of suffering in that because they're, no offense to them, but they're just not educating themselves, right? And somebody, I heard a podcast the other day and they were like, survival of the fittest, and I was like, all right, like that's fine, but that's unfair to those kids, you know, because they're just kids.
Yeah, and it is unfair, and so it's like if you say survival of the fittest, it's like, yeah, you're not really take not that anyone has to take ownership over younger generations learning about PED usage on TikTok, but it is I think it's something that anyone who does have knowledge, like you, me, our coaches, different people that are out there putting out really
Yeah.
good information, those it's not anyone's job to educate, but at the same time, if you can, then why not do it? Like, why not put out this podcast, or why not put out information that could get you business and get more people under good guidance, ethical guidance, and health focused guidance, but also just like make people think and just sit with information a little bit more. Because if younger generations are getting shitty information from other people that don't know what they're talking about, they can also get information from people who do know what they're talking about. And so at least if they're getting conflicted information, they have more of a reason to sit and think about it and dig deeper before they actually make a choice about a drug.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I wish more people would go on the route of education. Sometimes I feel like, and I've come across it too, where like someone's come to me and they immediately want to talk about it, and I was like, well, like, that trust circle thing. Like, we need to talk a little bit first. Like, I need to know where you're standing and what your goals are in life, you know? Like, it's not just about bodybuilding. Like, you want somebody to leave your care, basically, because I feel like, mother hen most of the time, but you want somebody to leave and be like, okay, so I can go into life and still be successful in other things. Like, I'm not going to ruin my hormones or in general. And there's so many good clinics out there now that's willing to take people on, and they're not judging. They're not, they're willing to talk about it. The doctors and the PAs are very,
They
well
know a lot
versed and they know
more
what they're
about
talking about.
enhancements that people are taking outside of HRT.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean there's so much learning. Like I love to learn about the PEDs and everything too, and then the peptides. I don't think I'll ever catch up, to be honest. There's so much information, but
Yeah.
I don't think we should ever I don't think I've never met anyone who's a really quote unquote good coach who's ever said like I know everything. They're like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
still learning." I'm like, "Yeah, me too."
Everyone's still learning. If someone says
Yeah.
that they're not still learning, that's a red flag, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you can come across as like the most knowledgeable and arrogant person and like you know everything and you have some sort of like affirmity in like the situation, like you can come across like and make a reel or something and be like, "Oh, I know this." Like I'm the most knowledgeable and people will believe you. But
Yeah.
it's
Well,
hard to
people will be on
decipher those
Instagram
two.
saying like number one transformation coach in the US. They'll just have that in their bio. Or like the
Mhm.
only source for female PED education. Or like, they'll have these claims and it's like, it doesn't mean anything. There's nobody like going around checking those bios or checking what is on your website or what you have
Right.
listed under your signature in your email, that like no one's checking stuff like that. And so they just
No.
see it and they're like, "Oh, okay. Well that's good. Maybe I should listen to
Yeah.
this person because they say this and they sound really smart because I don't know what they're talking about, but they're saying it with conviction. So maybe, and I like how they look or I like their style and so I'm going to listen to them." That's the only reason why people listen to people.
It's a funny thing too because I remember the first time one of my coaches was like, "Hey, you should take this." I was like, "Why?" And they kind of like sat back and looked at me, and I was like, "Well, give me some information, or let me go look it up." But like, you got to protect yourself too. I've
Yeah.
heard more. Like, I had a girl come to me once, and I was shocked how much she was put on. She was on a male dose. I was like, "You're taking what?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, we're gonna come off all of that." Like, I'm like, "Didn't you do research?" And she's like, "No, I just trusted them." And I was like, okay. But I mean, at that point, you got to take some sort of responsibility too and be like, you know, you got to stand up for yourself. You got to do your own research.
What time in your journey as an athlete did you feel like you learned that, whether it was the hard way or just you knew right away because someone gave you good advice? Tell me about that learning process for you and how you got to the point where you're at now, where you're a coach
Well,
doing that for people.
yeah. So, like, I had some really good coaches starting out. Like, I was blessed, you know, because in the beginning, you don't really know. I played college basketball, so I've kind of always had like somebody in my ear being like, do this, you know,
Mhm.
do this, and you trust them because I've always been a coachable athlete. And so I had really good coaches when I first started, and they were local coaches, and maybe they don't know everything, but they were like, "You're not going to do anything. We're going to start out like natural. You're a farm raised girl. Like you got big shoulders. Like let's just go from there, you know." So I've had people in my life who have been, you know, good to say, "Chelsea, don't do that," or if you do, like let's do some research. So
That's good.
luckily, that one person that was like, "Hey, are you willing to do whatever it takes to go pro?" I did have a conversation with my coach after that, and he was kind of like, "Well, you know, the next step is this.
Yeah.
If you want to go that route." Like he was never pushy or anything like that. And then I had a female coach after that, and same thing. It was just kind of like, here's what we recommend, but you don't have to do it, you know? So I don't think I've ever really, I've worked with people who have unfortunately listened to their coaches and been completely like their hormones were screwed up. They'd had issues, you know, afterwards with like having children, and that's awful. But I think I was blessed in the aspect of like I've just had really good quality people in my life.
Yeah. And it's like when did you first start competing?
So my first show was 2015.
Okay, so same. So we both been in it for 10 years. I was not a
Yeah.
college athlete. I was a college theater kid. So little different, but yeah, when I first got into competing, I was also just like I was so new and I was new to athletics in general. I was pretty new to working out. Like I'd been working out for 2 or 3 years, like not super serious, but like semi.
Yeah.
And I feel like similarly, just like starting out natural, starting out just slower instead of trying to just rush to the finish line. I think because of social media where it's at now versus then, it was brand new. Instagram was brand new back then. We didn't even have TikTok back in that day. And that time, it's like there's not as much information out there about anything really, much less PED. And now, since there's so much information and there's so many more competitors and there's so much more visibility of competitors, you have people wanting to rush the process. And whether that's rushing into drugs, rushing into their first prep when they've only been lifting for 6 months, or rushing into their next show after their first one, the key of all of this, like what the point I'm trying to make is that rushing the process doesn't really get you anywhere faster. It usually gets you to a hard lesson faster, but sometimes not even that. Sometimes people need to learn the hard lesson like over and over again before they realize like this isn't the right way because I'm running my body into the ground, or I'm not healthy anymore, or I feel my health slipping away because I didn't just slow down, like interview more coaches, talk to more people, ask more questions. So when it comes to competing, like competing, it takes over your whole life in so many ways. It is so important to slow down and ask more questions. And if you don't know what questions to ask, just like think about the things you don't know and just ask what they mean. There's no stupid questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. Um, I mean, that's what when people reach out to me, I have like a whole questionnaire that they fill out, and a lot of times it has ridiculous questions on it, but like I'm just trying to get to know their personality in general. Like, is this person going to be somebody who's coachable? Because that's a hard thing for me as a coach myself. I'm straightforward and to the point, and sometimes personalities don't match, and I'm totally cool with that. Like, there's been people who've started with me and they're like, hey, said things. I'm like, it's cool, you can leave. Like, we don't match. Like, it's fine. But like, I agree with you 100%. Like, just asking the questions, doing the right things. Like, I love it when people come to me and ask the hard questions right off the
Yeah.
bat. I'm like, all right, this is great. That means they're like responsible for themselves as a
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I
So,
think it's also important as an athlete to have a trust in your coach where you know that you're not going to be judged for your questions, because I feel like for me at least, I think since I have a lot of athletes who have been with me since like 2021 or 22 and or have followed me for that long or something like that, and so a lot of them started out probably hiring me because I was like a natural figure pro, got my pro card naturally, like, oh, cool. And so they started with me thinking that that was the route that they wanted to take. And then over time, they realized that, like, well, maybe there's other ways, because not just because I've obviously gone the enhanced route, but I think because people start realizing that just staying natural isn't this badge of honor that a lot of people say it is. And I think for me, I never thought of it as a badge of honor, but I did think of it as something that, like, well, I need to stay natural for as long as possible. And I think that served me for a while, but then it started working against me at a certain point, especially as a pro. Because once I got my pro card, it was like, all right, now I'm down to the bottom again. So now I have to make the decision, should I stay natural since I went pro natural, or should I go enhanced? And I think I took too much time just trying to do it naturally when it obviously wasn't working out.
I mean, I don't necessarily think. I think you did a really good path. Like, I mean, we all can look back and be like, I could have done this and I could have done
For
that.
sure. I don't have any
Yeah,
regrets. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm glad that I did what I did, because now I learned so much, and I learned from a lot of failure and just adversity and stuff like that. And obviously, like, staying naturally, I got to learn just more about hard work as a natural athlete. And that helps me now with my natural athletes that I have today. So it definitely helped just learning through that stuff. But I
yeah.
think the decision to go enhance from being a natural athlete after you've competed naturally a few times, it's something that, yes, it's a serious decision and it's important and you have to take responsibility with it. But at the same time, it shouldn't be something you're like scared to do, in terms of like scared to ask your coach about it, or like, maybe since my coach has always trained, like, worked with me while natural, I can't stay with them now. Like, if your coach has the knowledge and experience and they work with enhanced athletes, like, ask them those questions, even if it ends up telling you, you know what, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, when I went pro, I decided to go with a more advanced coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one that was here local who got me my pro card, amazing person, but I knew I was like, I'm gonna have to level up, right? We have to change. I can't have a local Idaho coach. Like, I'm gonna go with somebody who can get me a little bit farther, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay too. If people leave me for that reason, like, oh, I want to go farther. Go farther. It's cool. It's your journey. But my interview to the coaches that I had picked out, a lot of them answered the PED question very odd. Like, they were very wishy-washy and didn't like want to step into it. The
How
one thing
so?
that my coach said to me was like the most amazing thing, and I've been with him for 3 years now. He said, Chelsea, there's a reason my female athletes look like females. And I was like, oh, that was an amazing answer. Sold, right?
Yeah,
It was like,
definitely.
yeah. And he's been a huge mentor too. Like, I think that's where it is too, is like you want to learn from people who have been there, done that.
Who have been there, done that, and who you see are regularly producing the type of results physically that you want. And that's one thing, when athletes are looking for coaches, they're only looking at certain things, like they're only looking at the surface and they don't dig in deeper, like talking to their athletes and reaching out to them, asking them about their experience with the coach, or looking at the
Absolutely.
different results in terms of, like, yeah, like, placings don't always give us the whole picture. Oftentimes, like, yeah, look at placings, but also look at how in shape the person gets. Look at how, if the female is still feminine, look at things like that, because that stuff really matters.
Yeah, it does. It totally matters. I mean, that was that, and that goes into like the subject. Like, when I got off stage, when I went to Women's Physique and I did my first, I've only done one Women's Physique show. I'm going to do more in 2026, but I got off stage and I was a little butthurt because we always want to place, the top.
Mm-hmm.
As athletes, like, I know I came in better than I've ever come in, and I
Right.
coach all of my clients like, hey, we're gonna go for the next, and but we always have this little sense of like, ooh, I still wanted to be at the top. So I asked my coach, like, how come they're so much tighter than I am? Like, what is it that changes? And he said something that, and I don't know if it's true, but he said trend. And I was like, oh gosh. And he's like, you won't do that. And I was like, no, I won't. Like, I'm good. I'm good. Like, and so I didn't, and I don't know if it's true. And I don't know if, like, cause I don't know anyone else's, cycles. And like, that's not something you have. I don't ask women backstage, like, what are you taking? Like, I'm sure men do stuff like that, but like, we're backstage at that point. All of us just want a donut or something, when we're just having fun backstage. But I got off stage, and when he told me that, I was like, okay, it kind of flipped my mindset on the fact that, like, okay, the next time I go on stage, I'm just gonna go. Like, I'm gonna go have fun. Like, I'm
Yeah.
older. I know I have skin. It is what it is. I'm gonna try to grow some glutes this year and see what happens. But it just kind of got my mindset to the point. I was like, okay, I might not ever be at the top again, and that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It's like when you have that clarity of knowing where you're at and knowing and appreciating and respecting how hard you work, it doesn't really matter what the exact placing is or why you didn't look like her. It matters that you did your best and that your coach did his or her best and that you're happy, because happiness can't just be about the placing, because at the end of the day, like, you could look the absolute best on stage, but then someone might show up the next week looking way better and then you place last. It just, that's how it goes with competing, and especially with judging when there's things that happen. Like, I had a client who was in a show where she won her class and she was up against the woman in the overall and she didn't get the overall, and she was a lot tighter than the person who got the overall. Like, full, she looked great, and the judges told her, like my client, they told her, show up just like this to nationals, because this is the conditioning you need at nationals. I highly doubt that they told the other girl that, because that's not the conditioning. She didn't have the conditioning that would be okay at nationals. And that's just like, that's one of those things that sucks to hear that and to realize that you didn't get it because, like, maybe the shape was not quite where, like, this person's shape was better. And that was kind of the conversation, I guess, in that show. But sometimes judging is a lot more subjective than we think it's going to be. And we can look our best and we can look like what we think is the best on stage, and it doesn't get it. And so, because that stuff happens, we have to have a really strong mindset about what we're doing this for and who we're becoming along the way, not just like, okay, I checked the box off my list of like getting the pro card or getting the overall or getting the win.
right. Right. Yeah, that was one thing. Like the one, obviously you get one, but the show I got my pro card in, I actually went into that one like, okay, here we go, another show. Like I didn't have any, that was the first show I went into that I was just kind of like, all right, Jesus, take the wheel. Like I don't know what it was mindset wise. I think I was burnt out. I think I was tired. I think I was just like ready to eat. I don't know. That was the best show I'd ever had, and it was just like,
Do you think it
I
was
didn't have
because your stress was the lowest that it was, that it ever had been?
probably,
Yeah. Because
probably
you
it
didn't
was
have
just
as many expectations.
no, I'd done multiple, like that was, I mean, I only did three national shows, which is good, but I just was like the last show I'd gone to, I'd gone backstage and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm little. Like, I'm little compared to these women. And it totally got in my head. So the next one I went to, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun. I paid a lot of money to be here and I'm just going to enjoy my experience. And I think maybe that was it. I think you just get to a point where you're just like, okay, here we go. This is for fun. You've done all the hard work. The process is supposed to be the excitement and the journey. And then you get to stage and you're like, this is the fun part. This is when you should have fun. This is when you should enjoy the experience. And people take it very serious for a plastic trophy
Yeah. I like to tell people,
or a
like,
medal.
bodybuilding isn't that serious, because it's
Yeah.
really not. Like, it is a silly sport. And a lot of like hardcore bodybuilders who just like make it their entire life might hear that and be like, oh, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about, or she's not a real bodybuilder or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, if you can enjoy the process and have fun with the hobby that you pay to do, then you're doing the best at it. And if you do well because of that, like, where's the fault in that? There's nothing wrong with just enjoying the process and being less fixated on winning, because if you can be less fixated, you'll probably win more, because you won't be stressed, and stress has such a huge impact on the body. But so does joy, so does dopamine, serotonin. All of those things matter a lot too. And so if you can just like roll into the show day and just feel good about being there and take like soaking up getting the money that you like, getting everything out of what you put into it, then you're probably going to do a lot better. Even if you don't place the way you want to, you're going to have had a better time instead of being stressed the whole day and losing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's hard for those big men, those men that spend so much money and so much
Yeah,
time and they're
for sure.
huge. Like these guys have changed their entire life. And in that retrospect, like what it was it in the 90s when the big mass monsters started coming out, now that all those guys have to look like that in order to win. And the guys, I mean, what do they have? Three divisions? We have six.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I was talking to a guy about this the other day. Like, you can't, like, what are we going to create a different division for men? Like, what's next? Like, we've
Yeah,
got
men's
Ken.
dad bod.
Yeah, right? Like, what's the next one? Because
Yeah.
in women's aspect, like, we have so many different shapes. Like, there's women who are like lower body dominant. I think wellness was an amazing like addition to bodybuilding. It's gorgeous. I wish I had a pair of legs and glutes like that. Like
I know, right?
that would be awesome. But
Yeah.
then, like fit model is another one. It's just to introduce people into the sport. And I think that's why they created women's physique in like 2013, but then they dropped women's bodybuilding, you know?
How do
So
you feel about
we just
that?
have so many. What?
How do you feel about the just like the women's bodybuilding versus everyone else debacle?
So that one's tough because when women's physique was created, it was more about conditioning and like, like the aesthetic look and like the beauty of it, right? It has evolved too. There's been shows lately that I've been watching and I'm like, that looks like women's bodybuilding to me,
Yeah.
not women's physique anymore. Like it's and with anything, everything's going to evolve and change. Like we're all going to get bigger. There's more things coming out, right? There's even more like drugs coming out that are just for mass building and they're not PEDs. So it's, like there's going to be more generations that are going to outsize us. It's just going to be insane. We're going to be a bunch of like Spartans running around and yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
crazy, but I don't I understand why they created women's physique, but I feel like there's so much. I feel like the judges are picking correctly when they're picking the winners now, but there's some women's physique who look like women's bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Like there
Well,
shouldn't
and
be a
it doesn't
huge
help
difference.
that at the amateur level, you have so many of them crossing over, right? It's
Yeah,
like pretty common for people to cross over, even from like figure to physique, women's bodybuilding. Like, there's very rarely shows in the amateur league that like have women's bodybuilding at all. But like, I've been to a
yeah,
few shows this year where like there's both, and the same one girl does both. And it's like, if you can, then great, go for it. But it just, I think it takes away from the difference of the divisions when it's at the
yeah,
amateur level. And then you get a lot of women who are maybe not actually ready to compete as pros. They get a pro card relatively easily because there's not that many people competing at all. So when there's people that are mad about not having enough shows, not having enough coverage of women's physique or women's bodybuilding, well, it's because there's not that many people. There's not enough women competing, and you have to. It's not just about men that don't want to see women with muscle. It's about like promoters, men and women, that don't have the money to have that many pro divisions at the show. So
right.
I think
Well, and
that's
that's the
like the
tough thing
problem a lot
too
of
is
people don't
like
think about.
yeah, that's true. It's the promoter like, and that's the tough thing too is like even though we all love it, like what sells seats?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, it's still a business in aspect of it. Like some people are totally against, women having muscle, and that's fine. Not saying promoters or anything
You're
like
never going
that,
to
but like,
change that. That's the thing. You're never
no,
going to change
no,
the masses' opinions about women with muscle or about men with muscle or anything. Nothing is going to change that no matter what, other than maybe more people doing it and normalizing it a little bit. That's going to very slowly change the tide. But for the most part, you're never going to change people's minds. And so, honestly, in my opinion, crying about it or like worrying about it, or just being bitter about bodybuilding and leaving bodybuilding altogether because you're so mad that divisions got taken out, that's just giving them what they want. Like, they don't
yeah,
want
no,
women with muscle on stage. So if you're out because you're so mad at them, then you're
yeah,
just giving that to them.
yeah. It's true. It's true. It's funny too because like the promoters who are keeping women's, physique and women's bodybuilding and stuff in it, like they've worked their tail off to get people to invest in the show to do
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
for
so
sure.
like more of us could appreciate those. Like I know that you're sponsoring a show and that's amazing because it's not like it's free,
No,
right? So
it's
like
not.
when we go do these shows, you want to support those people who have invested in the show too. Like there's and that's the thing I want to bring across to all athletes. Like when you go to a show, amateur or pro, like shout out the people who are there doing the tans, doing the makeup, like who, does the music or whatever, like the promoters themselves or the girls on stage or you know what I mean? Like it takes a freaking village to run these shows. I would never want to do a show. I would never be a promoter.
Like, promote a show.
No, gosh, that sounds awful. That's so much stress. And really, like, I don't think there's any money in it at all. It's just stressful.
It's
Not that
such a
everything's about
passion
money.
project. Yeah. And
Yeah.
even working at a show, it's like if you nail down the basically what you're paid per hour, depending on the promoter, of course, if you're working a show, like it's always funny to me when I see a girl like get asked to be a trophy girl for the first time. Usually she's like just gone pro, or maybe she's like a newer competitor and she's like, "Oh my god, I got asked to be a trophy girl." I'm like, "Oh, congratulations. You're probably not going to get paid, and you're probably, or maybe you'll get paid $20, and you're going to be
Yeah.
walking back and forth in heels for like 8 hours. Congratulations."
I'll pass.
Like,
I'll
I'm
pass.
so happy for you. But
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, I'm
really,
happy
like,
for it.
I agree, like, promoting is very much a passion project. It's not going to make a
Yeah.
lot of money. And the promoters that do make a lot of money, that maybe people are kind of upset about, like, oh, they make so much money, they should be able to pay for this, blah, blah, blah. Like, they should bring it back, or they should do what they, everyone wants to tell everyone what to do with their money. Those promoters are that way because they've worked for it. They know how to market a show. They know how to make a show good. And that costs money to make the show good. Like Texas Pro, Battle Up Productions, the one that I'm sponsoring, like, yeah, it's expensive, but that show looks beautiful and people love to
Yeah.
compete at it. And like they usually sell a lot of seats and they have a lot of people like sponsors and booths and stuff like that. And they do, like, it takes a lot to run a show. So if you're someone listening and you're bitter about something with bodybuilding and how shows are run, try to just be a part of it and see, like, go work a show. Ask your promoter if you can work or volunteer or do something and work a whole show and really like look at what the ins and outs of it looks like, because it's a lot.
It's a ton. It's a ton. And people who work it, a lot of them do it for like, exposure, which is awesome.
Yeah,
And
they do it for
it's less
exposure or just to like
yeah.
be involved. Like I started out doing it just to like be involved in bodybuilding by like after I got my pro card, and I just wanted to like be in there. I wasn't a coach yet. And so then it just kind of snowballed and now I work a lot of shows, but I really enjoy it because I love my bodybuilding family. I love seeing people and like going to shows and also like being able to have my clients at shows and stuff like that. But it has given me a lot of insight into just the world of bodybuilding from that aspect that most competitors are too wrapped up in their own little like bodybuilding life to even think about.
Yeah, this so-called life. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Is that why
Their
when
whole
did you start
identity
coaching?
that they've made about bodybuilding. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. My favorite, and I shouldn't say this, but it's funny when people come to me like as an athlete and they're like, I want to create a business. I want to go pro and I want to make money for bodybuilding. And I was like, okay, we're gonna have a real talk. You're not gonna make
Yeah.
any money. And they're like, what? But you're gonna
Yeah.
spend a lot of money. You're gonna spend a ton of money.
Make money if you have a service and if you
Yeah,
have value. And
yeah,
unless you're willing to make your body value in terms of like subscription services, if you know what I mean, like
yeah,
your body as a bodybuilder isn't value.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you could use it for like marketing certain things. Yes, you're right.
Sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. The subscription thing is kind of interesting. Like I'm all for whoever wants to do it. Like, go do it.
For sure.
And I've had
Yeah.
people ask me like, "Hey, you're a bodybuilder. Do you have a OnlyFans page?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "You can make a lot of money." And I'm like, "Sure, I could, but I also have a teenage son that I'm gonna pass because like
I'm going to
if he's 18, like what if like his friends see me and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna find your mom on OnlyFans." Like that's not gonna be
Yeah.
okay.
I don't
Yeah,
even have kids, nor do I plan on them. I still don't want that
yeah.
kind of
Well,
drama.
it's funny. My first husband, he said something to me when I first, because when you first become a bodybuilder, you first do your first show. Like, the one thing I tell people all the time is like, just don't lose yourself. And they're like, what do you
Mm,
mean? And I'm like, you'll see. Like, you start to act different, or you start to do things that are out of your norm. Like, I took a picture of my back without like a bra on once, and I was married at the time, and he was like, what are you doing? And I posted it on internet. He's like, what are you doing? Like, that's too much. And I was like, it's just my back. He's like, okay. And so he had to have this conversation with me, and I'm glad he did, because it brought me down a little bit because I was in this like high, like that first competitor high, where you're like, I'm gonna I'm gonna go pro. I'm gonna be a trainer. I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna do all these crazy things, and then you're like, oh, really, it's just like now I have to go to the next step if I want to compete more.
What did that from there at that moment? Because I know you're not married to him anymore. I doubt it was because of that. But what was your thought process in terms of like, did you see that moment and have that conversation because you wanted to do more of that? Or did you realize that, oh, I do need to pull this back in because I don't want to become that person?
Well, I think as I look backwards, like I pulled back, of course, because, at what point do a marriage is a give and a take. You can't
Yeah,
just
for
like,
sure.
you can't be all out there and then have your spouse be like, I don't like that. And then you'd be like, oh, I don't care. So like it's a
Yeah,
give and a
there's
take.
this
I'm not going
respect
to say by
thing.
any means
Yeah.
that I should give marriage advice because it's hard. But I think it actually kind of like brought me back to the stage of like, okay, I am a mom. And eventually someday, like once you put something on the internet, it's always on the internet. Like even if you delete your pictures, there's a way to find it. I don't know enough about that to know how, so I know it's out there, but it just there's just certain things you don't want to post. If you don't want people to see them later, like then keep them private, I guess is what it was. I don't think he like stopped me from, putting myself out there in general. Like I still was like, well, I'm still going to post and I'm still going to do what I want to do. I mean, that's just my headspace in general. Probably why I'm single because I'm going to do what I want to do. I
Necessarily.
uh I think it did help bring me down a couple notches because I was in that headspace of like, oh, I just won first and I'm gonna do this show and I beat this person, and it was like it was a very young way of looking at things. I think once you evolve and you grow and you get farther into bodybuilding, you start to realize that like most people are pretty down to earth and just chill, and we all love lifting weights, and like the bodybuilding aspect and the stage of it is just a fun part of it. It's not like our whole life, right? If I never competed again, I still would train the same. I still would eat the same. I would
You'd
still
still be the same
do
person.
bulks and
Yeah.
cuts for fun. Like I wouldn't honestly once like every time I start a prep, I'm like, why am I doing this again? Like because it takes
Why do
over your
you do
life.
it
Like
again?
what?
Why do you do it?
Why?
Yeah.
I don't, I don't know. I feel like you just get in that mode of like, okay, well, it's time to prep again, and I miss it. There's times when I miss it. I think more and more like I see my athletes getting lean and like doing shows, and I'm like excited to be there and be part of it, and I'm like, man, I want to do that again. And then I do one, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like my coach, he had asked me, are we gonna prep again this year? And I was like, no, no, I don't want to. And he's like, I had a conversation with him, like a serious conversation, like have I put on enough size to actually be higher placings or do better in a women's physique show, right? Because I moved from figure. Now we're training a little differently. We got to get a little more dense. We got to grow a little bit. We need a little more width. There's certain things that have to change with the division. So I had a conversation and said, did I actually change enough to be competitive? And he was like, honestly, no. And I said, well, what's that look like? And so, we had our conversation, and he had said something that actually was interesting. He's like, you're like the only pro I know who doesn't want to get right back on stage. And I was like, well, okay. But I really like being thick,
Yeah, that's
like
different. A
in
lot of
general.
people don't like it's really
Yeah.
uncomfortable and they don't know how to rein it in enough to not get that thick or not get
Yeah.
to the thickness that's uncomfortable for them. And then some people
Yeah.
are on the opposite side of the spectrum where they don't put on the size they need and they just like try to stay lean and try to stay
Hmm.
as close to stage as possible, especially in smaller divisions like bikini. I think that's
Yeah.
common. And it's like, it's compared to like figure or physique, the size needed for bikini from a season to a season, it's pretty easy. It's simple to put on. It's not going to take a long time. You could probably take like a full calendar year of an off season, like, or a full 12 months of an off season and put and use that, whether you're natural or enhanced. Whereas bigger divisions, oftentimes, like it does take a lot longer just to recover from the prep and to build the muscle and to have pull phases and push phases and stuff like that. But yeah,
And
I
to do it
agree. It's like a
correctly.
lot of people just decide that, well, I'm a pro now, so I got to compete again. I got to compete this year and next year, and like I got to stay relevant. Or I placed fifth this year at a pro show, so I'll do better next year if I just can keep competing. But if you don't have the size to be a top, like a first place, because you just got fifth place and you never got anything more than that, then it's not just like a matter of time. And like, then you're just playing the luck game. You're not actually strategizing that better placement.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you could put on size, but if you don't put it in the right spots, Like, I mean, you can't spot reduce fat. You can't like point to your lats and be like, grow, you know? But like with the right programming, you can target what you need to target if you do it correctly. And, as a woman, we should take longer off seasons because if you're going to use PEDs, you don't want to use them for an extended period of time like
Yeah.
men can. You want
Yeah.
to pull back, yeah, and go through health phase and get your blood work done. That is one thing that drives me crazy. I don't know why I've had multiple clients fight me, be like, I don't want to get my blood work done. It costs too much. And I'm like, why? Like, you don't care about your health? Like, I
Guess what
care about
else
your health
costs
more than you
more
do.
money? Blood
Yeah.
work costs money, but drugs cost money. And
Yeah.
so
I'm like,
does like having health issues. That costs money later when you don't do
yeah.
what you need to do to prepare for that growth phase.
Yeah. And the funny ones are the ones who I'm like, I need a full look at you. Like, I need a full look at my client. And they're like, but I'm not going to do drugs. And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm just saying, like, what if we're missing something?
It blows my mind how many
Yeah.
natural competitors who are wanting to stay natural will not get their blood work done because they think, well, I'm natural, so I'm healthy. And
Yeah.
most natural competitors who think that are not healthy, or they have things going on that if they just checked on it, if they looked under the hood, they'd be able to see that they do have things going on. And if they just fixed them or if they just worked on them and enhanced themselves a little bit, not with PEDs, but just like a supplement, a vitamin, something, or just like taking time off, some mindset, behavioral changes, if they just made a few changes, they would be more responsive and be able to build more muscle or be able to have a better contest prep.
Yeah. What do you do when people refuse to do blood work?
I mean, I'm not going to push anything on anyone, just
Yeah.
like I'm not going to push a drug on someone or a
Yeah.
supplement. I'm also not going to push that, but I am going to tell them, kind of remind them, this is what you want, this is your goal. And in order for us to get to the goal, we need to have a full look, like you said. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine, but it is going to take longer and it's going to be a lot harder for us to know if we're on the right path. And so, usually, when that kind of thing comes up, it ends up being a conversation about like, all right, well, give me a couple months and I'll be able to afford it at this time, or something like that. Like they just want to wait until they can get the blood work done, but at least then they know that I've given them the kind of like, this is why we are here instead of there. And so if we want to get there, we have to like do the necessary things. And so it just kind of gives them the freedom and flexibility, I guess, to realize like, all right, it's probably going to take a little longer because if I need to get blood work, but I'm going to wait until this time, it's just going to, I need to be more patient. So usually it kind of lets them check themselves so they realize like, okay, well, she's right. And I just need to do this. I just like can't do it right now. So that means I also have to prolong or like put off my goals a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
perfect.
yeah, if
Yeah.
someone
I
was
could
like,
always.
I don't want to do blood work, but I want to start drugs or I want to start a growth phase, I'd be like, I'm not the coach for you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, here's a number. I'm gonna pass you off, but I
Yeah.
definitely am the same way. Like I just tell people like you're kind of tying my hands. Like I'll do what we can, but like until we have like a full look, like that we could be missing something. But like
Yeah.
definitely, if somebody wants to run something, and I never like you say, I say I could suggest things, but like I'll never say this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard coaches out there be like, this is what you're doing, and this is what you'll do, and you won't complain. And I'm like, oh, I would leave
Yeah.
that
I
person,
just,
but I just tell people like if that's something you want to do, we need to make sure you're healthy first. And we will continue to make sure you're healthy. Like there's a reason that I'm blessed that I use a clinic because I trust those doctors and PAs to help me back it up. Like I'm not a doctor, right? I mean, I have a science degree. Doesn't mean I'm a doctor. It just means I have a science degree. It just is like, and I can only learn so much and only know from my experience how things work. But I just and the whole thing behind it is I just really wish people would care more about the fact that like yes you're going to be putting something in your body but like let's make sure you're healthy first. And they're like if I don't care about that, it's hard for me. And I've never quote unquote fired anyone because of it, but I've also like very highly encouraged like we're not gonna go that route. I mean, I've had people do stuff behind my back that I didn't even know
yeah,
about,
same.
which is it's just awful. And I'm like, why are you changing? Like, there's something different about you, and it is what it is, and you can't stop them. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've done stuff before behind my coach's back, but not this one, obviously, because as you get more involved in the sport, you're like, okay, that was stupid.
You start as you age as a competitor and as a person in general, like you just gain more maturity as a person and as an athlete. And that maturity hopefully also gives you like the ability to slow down, be more patient. So like, okay, yeah, I can wait a couple months if I need to get blood work first before I do this. Or, someone wanting to start a fat loss phase when they can't even follow their plan currently, in their off season or growth phase or whatever. Or someone wanting to start a prep before they've even put the muscle on. Like there's that patience aspect that people just have to get to at some point. And there's been some times like that where I'll tell someone like if they really won't do what I want them to do in terms of like they really won't take the extra time off or something like that, I'll tell them, okay, we can do it your way, but I want you to tell me that you're really ready for the possibility that you won't be successful. Like if you're ready for that, I will help you through this mini cut that you want to do, or we can start a fat loss phase or something like that, and we can see how it goes. And if we get to this time and it isn't working like I'm telling you it won't, then we get to do things my way. And anytime I've done that, the person's learned a lot, and they've said, okay, yeah, you were right. Like we shouldn't have done that, so maybe
Yeah.
I'll do better next time.
Yeah, the tough ones are the ones who come off a stage and like you tell them, "Hey, if you're gonna come off a stage, you're gonna want to eat like a donkey. Just don't do it. Like follow the plan. Pretend that you're gonna be in prep for a little bit longer. Just follow the plan." And
And they're
then
like,
they
"No,
go
I
hog
really
wild
need
and
balance right now. I'm gonna eat a lot more, and I'm gonna eat until I'm really uncomfortable, and that's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna be
yeah,
fine." And then they're not.
and then they're not. They're like, "I'm 30 pounds heavier." I was like, yeah." And I had somebody ask me like, "Can we do a cut?" I'm like, "No."
No.
No, your body cannot do a cut right now because you just came off of a cut and it's not healthy to just go back into it. But that one's hard for me. It's hard for me because I think I like gear them up. Hey, we're gonna be just having your head. You get off stage, you're still in prep for about 6. Thanks, bud. Can I have some water too? Oh no, I thought he handed you water. Is he not home?
No, he is home, but this is just on my windowsill. That's funny.
I saw your thing the other day where he handed you water. It was funny.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, it
funny.
was funny. Yeah, I just the reverse thing or quote unquote reverse or whatever, just basically, you're back to normal eating, but it's hard when people go all hog wild.
So, what would you say is like your hardest lesson that you've learned as a bodybuilder, like that is applicable to this conversation?
My hardest lesson. It's a good question. Probably the fueling of your body like with the good quality food. Not all food is created equal. Even though it's the same calories, it doesn't mean it's good for you. Like learning that body can only run like especially when you're at a level of like I need to be able to use this fuel in the gym to create the body I want. Having a burger that's what 400 I mean I don't know what burgers are. I don't eat burgers, but like let's say a burger's like 600 calories compared to like a meal that I would have pre-workout.
Shit, most
Like
burgers at restaurants are like 1,000 calories.
okay.
Like they're
You can
like
tell I don't eat
80
them.
grams of fat for a
Yeah.
single burger. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's why I don't eat them. They make me sick. Like really make me sick. I think learning that like your body can really fuel and run better, your brain runs better off of good quality food. And a lot of people will complain about the expense of it, right? Like, oh, well that's expensive. You eat shrimp every day, you eat fish every day, it's expensive. And I'm like, I don't feel like crap. And I sleep good and my body runs well. I think the hardest lesson was like the one where I thought I needed the year there was a year there where I thought I needed to eat everything. And my bulk, I did a dirty bulk. I was uncomfortable. My knees hurt. All my joints were aching because I incorporated sugar and things in there because I was like, well, I'm bulking. It was just like the same time I got pregnant. I was like, I can eat for 9 months and I was 225 pounds by the time I had the baby. I was like, oh wow, this is not great. But it's the same thing. That I think that was the hardest lesson because once you get to that point of like excessive fat and you have to go into a cut, it is
Mm-hmm.
not fun.
No, it's
It is
not.
not fun. I mean,
And it's
it
like, it's
means math.
expensive in the beginning when you see like, oh, well, that's expensive to eat like that. But it's like, it's also expensive later in different ways. Sometimes financially, sometimes just like expensive your energy, expensive your time, expensive like how long you have to stay in a prep. And yeah, if you dirty bulk or if you eat like shit for your entire off season, you're not only going to have a lot of extra like excess body fat to take off in your prep, or maybe even need to have like two whole different like fat loss phases of like an initial phase and a prep, but
Yeah.
you're also, your body's just not functioning as well. And so it's growing, you're getting bigger, but you're not building as much muscle, most likely because you have so much extra body fat and your insulin sensitivity is not in a healthy place because of all of the shitty food that you're eating. And that's why you're not going to look any different on stage, because you didn't build as much muscle in that time you had off as you thought you did. Even though you got huge and you have your shape and everything, it's just not as quality because you weren't as healthy. But I know
Yeah.
for me, the same way, like I started out my journey as a bodybuilder as an IFYM style eater. And so I ate all sorts of macro factored little things, and I did like some of the things that I ate even in the prep where I got my pro card, and I was like shredded. Like I definitely had great conditioning when I got my pro card. Obviously I've gotten a lot better in this last season, but like I was successful, quote unquote. But because I ate like that during that time, I then ate like that in that off season, and then learned kind of the hard way that just like my body doesn't feel good when it has that body fat and it's eating like that. And you don't build as much muscle. You don't recover as well from injuries. And I got injured after I got my pro card, and that recovery was rough. I wasn't eating well enough. I was just not paying as much attention to my health. And like, I didn't even take vitamins, like health supplements, until like 2019 or like 2019, 2020. I didn't take anything before that.
Really?
And so, yeah, yeah. It was
Tell me
literally
what you ate.
because in 2016, I remember I had like some sort of like gut issues. I don't even remember what they were. I was just like probably had more gas or something like that than I wanted. And so I remember going to the doctor and asking her, and she really just didn't know. She was like, "Well, you're taking a lot of vitamins, like so maybe just stop taking all of your vitamins. That's probably like what's causing it." So I was taking like normal vitamins, like a multivitamin and omega and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay. So I just stopped taking them. And that was like 2016. So from that time until like 2020, I was just not taking any health supplements.
Yeah, that's a whole other
So
subject we could get into is the doctors, but I'm not going to get into that.
yeah, we don't need to do all that.
Yeah, I could definitely have some hate then. Like they're like, you don't know. Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
What's your
I
most
think the mental
unpopular
as
opinion? Oh, sorry. Go for that.
I was gonna say, I think the mental aspect of gaining the weight as a woman too,
Mm-hmm.
like obviously, like you need an off season, you need a little more mass in order to grow, but like you can do it healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But like having that excessive weight is hard on women. And I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure it's hard on men too, but like I think mentally for us, gosh, I remember when I first started competing, my mom was like, you look sick. And I'm like, I'm not sick, but I
When
get
you
it,
were
you know,
really
like
lean.
yeah, because my
Yeah.
very first show, like, your first show, you don't have enough muscle.
Yeah. You
So
just
like
look
you can see
kind
my
of
vertebrae,
relative.
you can see my collarbones. Like now they're used to it. They're like, oh, she's lean, But then it was like somebody asked me if I had cancer. One of my patients when I was at work, like, do you have cancer? I was like, no.
What a question to ask.
I mean, I think that excessive weight though mentally for women is hard too. So that's one thing I think the hardest lesson was getting excessively big. I'll never do that
It's
again.
that getting big and getting uncomfortable, realizing the health implications of it, and then remembering that in the moments it matters the most. So like immediately post show, because that's one thing, like a lot of people, like they do their second show and or like their second season, and they say like I'm going to do my reverse right this time, and then they forget all of that. And I truly believe that you can, like, it's hard no matter what, no matter how long you've been doing it. It's hard for me even 10 years later, but like it's still something that you can work on over time, and you can decide to remind yourself of like what the fuck you're doing and who you are. Because if you do that, you remind yourself daily of like, I don't need that. I need this. What is this going to, how is this going to benefit me, or how is this going to hurt me? The more you do that, the better your brain becomes at making the decisions in the moment when normally you're just kind of like mindlessly eating, mindlessly doing whatever.
Yeah. Or the amount of heartburn that you get. Like for me, that's it. Like I had to sit up so many nights like to sleep. I was like, I'm never going backwards, like ever. Like the amount of sugar I've cut out of my life, I'm never going backwards. It's not happening anymore. I feel so much better. And being older, like the sugar's an inflammation, it's going to create so much problems in your body anyways. But like being older, like I have joint problems that I probably should have looked at, but I'll wait till the next season.
Yeah, it's always like,
It
I'll
felt
wait
really
until this
good.
time. I'll wait until this time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll wait
I
until
think
they don't work anymore.
that ties into just like kind of an overall whelming like overall theme of this episode, which is like paying attention to how you feel and how you want to feel and making your decisions based off of that. So when it comes to food, making decisions about like how you want to feel and like what you want to set yourself up for success and health and vitality and your future sustainability. How do you want to feel in your prep or feel about your performance or your success? Well, that's how you should walk into hiring a coach, is like, how do they make me feel? It's not just like, oh, they make me feel confident, like they told me I can get a pro card. It's like, how do they make me feel heard? Do they make me feel safe? Do they make me feel like I can trust them? Like that's a really important part of hiring a coach. Just like when you're in an off season, like how do you want to feel day to day? And that's how you choose your food. Same thing in prep, how you choose to like spend your time and energy, because you don't have as much free time, because you're doing cardio and you're training and you're doing all the things. And
Right.
if you just focus on like how you want to feel and how you want to keep showing up, then that you're going to be a lot more successful and just happier overall.
100%. 100%. I heard something the other day and it made a lot of sense. A guy was talking about women in general and their training and how he's like, train how you want to look. Like, he's like, forget the stage. He's like, if it's like, if, I mean, obviously we all have our divisions that we have to follow, but like, he's like, forget the stage. Just train how you want to look. If you want, the big back, like, so what if you're a bikini competitor? He's like, grow your back, and I was like, well, that's not the
It
best.
depends. I think that's true. And like that really depends on like how impacted by the sport and like the outcomes of the sport are you willing to be? Because if you just want to train how you want to train and you're not someone who can really handle criticism and you don't want someone to tell you how your body should look, then
Yeah.
bodybuilding, you should be a bodybuilder. You don't have to be a competitor. But if you like are willing to, if you really like, training and being and looking in a certain direction that fits in a division, like figure, wellness, bikini, men's physique, whatever, then like, yeah, train for that and just know that you will have to kind of finesse and you'll have to do a few things that might be uncomfortable. But if you're just as comfortable, if you're comfortable enough to be happy with your body in that body for that division, and you're willing to go hard at it and really get there and get to that level of like, I'm giving the judges what they want, and then it's just like a game you get to play and it's fun and it's like you can stop at any time. That's how I kind of look at it with bodybuilding. Like people ask me how long I'll compete because I've been doing it for so long now. I'm like, I don't really have a timeline. I'll do it as long as I feel like doing it. As long as I enjoy shaping my body for the figure division and doing what I'm doing, I'll just keep doing it as long as that happens. But if there's a point where they're like, yeah, you still need to get bigger here, and I just really don't want to do that, then
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably when I'll stop. But
And
for right
that's
now,
kind of
like
where I'm at.
I'm uncomfortable in my off season a little bit right now because I feel so big, but I'm also like hyped about it. Like I told
Yeah.
my coach yesterday when I checked in, I'm like, I'm definitely uncomfortable a little bit and it's kind of scary just seeing how like strong I'm getting and I feel big, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not concerned. I know that it's like for the good of my goals and I'm going to make it to
Yeah.
the Olympia. Like I'm excited about it. It's
Yeah.
just crazy that I'm here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can be okay
Yeah.
with that dichotomy, you'll be great. But if you can't, and if you don't like people telling you what to do with your body, you shouldn't compete.
No, you
Yeah.
can, like you said, you can still bodybuild. Like you can train all you want. You have to get in the aspect of like, if you're gonna be told, like, hey, this doesn't work for you, or like I got told for years, you should move up to women's physique, and I had in my brain, I won't move until a pro judge tells me I need to move. And they're never gonna say you need to move, but two of the judges from the figure shows that I did was like, have you thought about women's physique? And I was like,
Okay.
I've been told that a couple of times, so
Yeah.
I guess I'll
And you
try it
can
out.
try
I
things
was so
too. I
scared.
think people are scared to try things. Yeah, they're scared. And it's like,
I was
you can
terrified.
try things and see what happens. It's like nothing
Yeah,
bad is going to happen. You might get some haters on the internet say, like, she doesn't belong there. But, like, what's that going
yeah.
to do?
Who cares? They're on the internet. They're behind a screen. They're not going to say it to your
Exactly.
face. But I definitely was scared. I was terrified. But it's fun. I love it. It fits my body better, and like you get more stage time, and I get to lift heavier. Like I'm cool with that. Whatever. But it definitely was scary.
What's your favorite part of your career as an athlete, as a coach, anything, especially like looking forward into the next 6 months?
Honestly, I really love coaching. I think I like coaching more than I like being an athlete myself. Like, I'll always train. That's never going to be a thing. Most people who are in the gym training have been doing it for years for a number of reasons, right? Mine goes back from when I was like a kid. I fought a lot, and my parents were like, let's get her a membership to a gym instead of her beating people up. Like, let's do that instead, right? So that's better. But I think for me, coaching, watching, like, I remember my first show, and that was like a big moment. I came off stage, I hugged my coach, I was really excited, and it was just like okay, I belong in this. This is where I feel good, you know? Like, and I just love watching people, their first show, like just getting the excitement and their friends and their family, like cheering them on. And some people have some serious stories, like things that they've gone through that are hard, and they're like, I want to do this for myself. And I'm like, let's do it, you know? And
Pretty
I
cool.
really love coaching, like just seeing the excitement and teaching, teaching people. And the mindset thing's a big thing for me because a lot of people aren't as confident as, I mean, maybe I just came that way. My mom has always asked, like, why are you so confident? I was like, I don't know. I just am. Like, I like who I am. But maybe I have a big ego. I don't care. But I like teaching too. And I like the fact that, like, I can kind of live vicariously through my my clients, even the
And you
ones
can
who
just be
are
really
not.
proud of like your work
Yeah.
for them too. That's something
Yeah,
that
I
I'm
think
really seeing this year is just like,
yeah.
wow, I feel really good about myself for getting this athlete to this place.
Yeah.
And like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's almost as cool as getting myself there, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's almost like my coach one year was like, I do know what I'm doing, not the pro coach, but when I was an amateur, she's like, I do know what I'm doing. And I was like, you shouldn't tell your client that, but yes, you do. But I think for me it's the coaching aspect of things. I love it. I'm just diving in. Like I'm just gonna go balls to the wall. And I mean, I left a career to coach full time, so
Yeah.
this is where I'm at.
It's the
I'm
real
so
deal.
happy.
Can't
I
turn back now.
can't. Yeah, I'm. Well, I mean, I could. I still have my license. It's active, but I
Yeah,
just.
but you just like tell yourself you can't turn back
Yeah,
now. So
yeah.
you
I
stay.
I do not want to clean teeth anymore ever again.
Yeah.
Like
I don't want
honestly,
to be an executive assistant either.
no. Gosh, I can only imagine the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was
No
doing
thanks.
before this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Well,
coaching for me is been like a huge, almost like a it's grown me too mentally. Like it's
mhm.
grown me as a person. Like I feel like you said, I've matured and I'm more positive, and I can see things in a different light now where it's not like, there's really no negative aspect of it. Like I just am always feel like I'm always helping. Like yes, there's points where I could shake somebody if they weren't in the computer, but
Any negative I think you find in coaching, in my opinion, when you really love it, is like it can be flipped into a positive. It can be you can remind yourself like, okay, this is a challenging client that I kind of want to shake, but it's a challenge for me that I now get to like try to get through. It's like it's a game. I try to make little games in my head sometimes to like get me through. And yes, or if it's like this is a really hard day because I'm so tired and I still have 5 check-ins to do or whatever. It's like, but I'm really grateful that I have 5 more check-ins and I'm not just like wishing I had more clients, you know?
right.
So yeah,
No,
I
that's
try to
true.
always
Some
find the
days, those
positive
days,
in.
yeah, that's true. Those days I'm like, you know what? I don't have to sit here and finish these right now. Go for a walk, get your head clear, and then come back because you don't have a time constraint at this point. Like you're your own boss. And so sometimes knowing that that will always be there is almost like a breath of fresh air. Like you said, you turn it positive. Like, okay, I'm gonna take a break because that one got me heated, and I'm gonna go over here. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
but you can't
Well,
show
I'm
them that you're
super pumped
heated.
for you. It's going to be a good year. You have a client. Is she going to Universe, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for her. Yeah. So she's going to Universe, and she's just an amazing person in general. Getting her confidence level to come up has been kind of hard. I'm like, what are you doing? She just has this like almost imposter syndrome. Like, oh, well, I'm not a pro like you. And I'm like, I wasn't always a pro. Like it just, like I was there too. It's really cool. I'm really excited for her. I've her going to university, and then I have another athlete going to either we're going to the Team Collegiate Masters or we're gonna go to North Americans. And she's bikini. And honestly, like I think that's been more challenging for me because it's bikini. And for me, I'm like, okay, is she too lean? Am I, like so
Yeah.
but it's been fun. I have some really, really good guys coming up in the fall. Like I'm really excited, and I've had some people come to me and be like, I want to do well in a show, and the realistic talks that I've had with these people, and they've taken them well. I'm like, okay, you need to grow for a
Let's
year. You
go.
need to be with me for a while. Like, let's go. And there's been some in the past. Like there's been a one of my very first clients. I mean, he and his wife has decided to like pull away from bodybuilding, but I leave him in all like the group chats and stuff because I'm like, you're gonna come back. I want you back. I want you to come back because he did really well his very first show, and I kind of hoped he would go on, but in their life, they're wanting to have babies and do all that stuff, and so I'm like, okay, I'll wait.
I'll be here.
Because I
Yeah.
see it, I see it in him, but I just am waiting for him to grow. But yeah, we have a big summer coming up. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, I'm super excited for you. Excited to see you at the next show, whenever that is.
I know.
If anyone wants to reach out to Chelsea for coaching, for hang out in Idaho, training, whatever,
Yeah.
her info will be in all of the show notes. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you, Chelsea, for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's always great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.